will be back here.
Than vengeance.
We are, yeah, I say that we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
Good morning, everyone, and afternoon. Welcome to Moving the Chains and our Super Bowl preview show. I cannot believe we are talking about the last game of the 2023 NFL season, and we are going to see who is crowned the champion. The number one revenge game of the season. We have been so excited to talk about this game. I've been waiting 2 weeks basically to be on the show with you guys. Welcome back, Seby. Of course, everyone is familiar with Jeff, and we've got Brock here joining the team. How are you, Brock? Are you excited or what?
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is a game that I've been looking forward to watching for quite a long time with the storylines and everything. And, you know, I'm just ready for legacies to finally be built after today.
Oh, God, I hope your prediction is not who I think it is, just based off that one-liner. Okay, so we're going to start off with the awards show first. I'm sure everybody was trying to tune in because I definitely was. I couldn't watch it anywhere. Like, I don't know why they make it so hard to watch these awards unless you're in person. But we'll kick it off with our Offensive Rookie of the Year, which, if you know, you know. Me, Jeff, and Joe have been riding with CJ Stroud the entire season. Just phenomenal guy, I feel like, all around, and truly changed the way the Texans are going to look in the future. So let me know. How did you guys?
Well deserved, right? I'm happy that this turned out this way. This was a young man who I thought took a lot of unfair criticism during the draft process. I thought I still haven't taken it down yet. He's still number one on my QB board. So right now I'm happy to see the way he played this year, the way he commanded the team, the system. He was a field general. He made tremendous throws all season long. He did everything you want out of a face of a franchise of a rookie quarterback. And then not only that, he also led him to a division title and took him to the playoffs. So kudos. He deserves every bit of this award.
It's safe to say none of us were surprised with this winning, right? We can all agree we liked it.
Oh, yeah. There was nobody that outshined him offensively as a rookie this year. So it was definitely his award to lose.
So, Brock, how do you feel like this takes the Texans in the future? Like, what direction do you think they're looking at? Because they obviously did phenomenal this year. They've made it to the playoffs. Nobody imagined anything beyond 4 wins, which is one more than last year. So what are you expecting to see from this team?
Massive financial investment into this team in the offseason. When you have a quarterback like CJ Stroud, it gives you and the front office the confidence and security that you have a solid playmaker at that position going forward, and you can supplement him with veteran talent on both sides of the football. I expect them to go out there, spend a significant amount of money, pass rushers, maybe Brian Burns, go get a wide receiver, shore up any issues along the O-line, and get some depth in there as well. Whatever they really want to focus on, they can go and get, because not only is CJ Stroud a rookie contract, most of the players are. They're in a great position, and when you have, like I said, like a guy like CJ Stroud, you have the ability to know you got 3 years of great rookie, cap hits before you have to pay them. Therefore, you can make some moves in the meantime.
Very smart way to turn that. All right, what about you, Seby? Close it out with whatever thoughts you have on CJ.
Absolutely. Just a once-in-a-generation talent, a transcendent talent. He's going to be, remember back in the days in the AFC South, it used to be Peyton Manning against, nobody.
Right.
Now we actually get to see Trevor Lawrence and him twice a year. So he's a transcendent talent, as I mentioned. And just like the other gentleman said, these guys are still in their rookie deals. You can go out and spend big time money on the defensive end. You can spend some big time money on the defensive side of the football, shore up that offensive line. That's been a historical problem for the Texans for years. And then, protect your investment for the next 15 years, because CJ Stroud is that guy. And let's be honest, who else were they going to give the rookie of the year to? Nobody else. So kudos to CJ Stroud. Not only did he get the Texans to the playoffs, they won a playoff game too. So.
And they were competitive, okay? It's not like they were closing out in the back half of that season. They were coming strong. Without CJ, though, we could really recognize that the Texans need him firing on all cylinders. All right, next up, I think this was also a very expected award for Myles Garrett to win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, without him and the Browns, leading that Browns defense, there was really no way that they were going to be as successful as they were. So Seby, take me through. What do you think this means for Miles and the Browns and kind of what they can improve for next year? Because obviously this was a very chaotic year for that orange and brown team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I'd say that I was a little bit shocked. I thought TJ deserved it because you look at the metrics, him on the field and off the field, the Steelers are just night and day. They're a different team. But, I mean, Myles Garrett, long time coming, right? This is a guy, the #1 overall pick, high expectations. He's exceeded those expectations, been through a franchise that's been in misery for all these years, and they finally starting to reap what success is. And the Browns defense, this was for majority of the year the league's best defense, right? And they carried that towards the playoffs. I know they got exposed against the Texans, but what this means to me is next year when they get all their horses back, Deshaun Watson, we'll see what type of guy that he's going to be. When they get Nick Chubb back, now you have a two-headed monster with Hunt and him back. I think this is a team that's going to be able to compete in the AFC North with the Bengals, with obviously the Baltimore Ravens. So I think that this kind of catapults Myles Garrett and this defense into expectations next year that they probably didn't have coming into the season this year.
I think it's very safe to say we're excited to see more of how Deshaun Watson flips this team, not the defense. So, Jeff, how was the defense overall for the Browns, you think?
They were excellent this year. They managed to carry this team when they had a lot of offensive question. When Deshaun Watson was having his issues with this offense, they still held them together. When he went out and they started playing young quarterbacks in his place, they held it together. They weren't going out there and losing games and getting blown out because they just didn't have consistent quarterback play. They were holding it together, allowing this offense to make plays to win games. Then you bring in Joe Flacco, who's able to steady the ship. He was familiar with the offense, and all of a sudden things take off again, and they don't have to do as much, but they never really fell off. And that's one of the mainstays of a great defense. When they come back and they get the support from the offense, they don't fall off. They continue to play at a high level. So when I look at this award and Myles Garrett getting it, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it if TJ Watt would have gotten it, and I don't even have a problem with Micah Parsons would have got it. All three of these players, the top defensive players for that position, okay, for those teams are equally important to those defenses. Okay, any one of those guys goes missing, all of those defenses fall off. So you look at it, Micah Parsons, 13.5 sacks. He doesn't have the sack production, but overall impact on the game for the Cowboys defense, he's just as important. When you look at TJ Watt, you look at the overall impact on the game for that defense, he's equally as important. So I don't have any problem with any one of those guys walking away with this trophy. I think all of them are deserving. It's up to the award voters to have the final say.
Yeah.
And to wrap up the Browns, Brock, how do you think they're going to take this end of the season with a bunch of chaos and just turn that around for next season and work on things in the draft?
Well, I think next season is all about the evaluation of Deshaun Watson because he's been a poor investment up to this point. Off the field, on the field, it just hasn't worked out for a variety of reasons. If I'm the Browns, I'm taking a look at the success I'm having around him and when he's not on the field, and I'm realizing maybe he's not the guy for us going in the future. Of course, take next year's evaluation year, continue to build up the rest of the team, and get ready to start moving massive money to try and get out of that fully guaranteed contract in the fastest way possible.
Yeah, I think that is the discussion we've had the entire season. So I'm very excited to see what happens with Deshaun specifically. Let's move on to our offensive player of the year since he's playing in the Super Bowl today. And I feel like we would be remiss if we did not talk about what Christian McCaffrey has done for himself and done as he has moved from one team to the next, just completely taking over this 49ers offense. And I believe this is a very truly awarded award to Christian because of how he's performed. This postseason would not look the same without him. I just need them to understand that. So everyone else, Seby, you could kick it off first. What are your thoughts on CMC and just how he's evolved with this Niners offense?
Absolutely, right? They're in Vegas for a reason. You know, the San Francisco struck jackpot. trading for CMC. But what's fascinating to me, we live in the golden generation of quarterback play, right? Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, the list goes on, all these great quarterbacks. And, you know, it's good to see that great running backs still exist because of Christian McCaffrey. And, you know, someday there'll be a day when a running back will win an MVP. The last one was Adrian Peterson in 2012. And so I thought Christian McCaffrey had just as, you know, as a great conversation as Lamar Jackson and some of these other guys who were in the MVP consideration. But over 2,000 yards, scrimmage yards, he is the catalyst for this 49ers offense. He's the one, he's the engine that runs. He's the one that makes it go. So very deserving of this award. I don't think there's anybody else that would deserve it.
All right, who is a CMC fan before we ask another question? Is everyone a fan of how he's totally evolved from Carolina to here?
I've been a fan of him since he was at Stanford when I first evaluated him. You know, and he's a tougher runner than people give him credit for. But what he's done for the San Francisco 49ers offense is he gives them something special in the backfield. While they were a committee backfield before he got there, using different pieces to put that kind of production together, he's given them a superstar back there that allows them to play without a special quarterback. They talk about the guy on the other sideline tonight is a special quarterback. The Niners don't have a special quarterback. They have a very good quarterback, okay? And a very good quarterback with a lot of special pieces around them is equally as powerful. And they've shown you that this run. So this is what we're looking at right now is a guy who's very special in the backfield, along with some other special players around him, making a very good quarterback look real good.
All right, Brock, for CMC, how does this look for him in the future? You think he's asking for more money, sticking with the Niners? What does this look like if you're CMC?
I think he's absolutely going to ask for more money, and he's going to stick with the 49ers. I think they're a perfect match for each other. If there's any team in the NFL that should pay for a running back, it's San Francisco. They have an offense built to support the run, unlike a lot of other pass-happy teams in the league. There's no reason why these two should ever depart. They have a history that goes back to their fathers. They're making success happen on the field. And let's not forget the last time the Niners went to the Super Bowl, they had to have 3 running backs do very specific jobs where CMC can do all those jobs in one. Very versatile weapon. Has basically eliminated Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell from the backfield. There's no reason why they're ever going to split up CMC in the Bay for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone that's watching that is a Niner fan loves that exact line. And to close it off, we're going to talk about our defensive rookie. I think this was a very well-deserved. Will Anderson Jr. has truly just taken the Texans' defense, like mentally, culturally, himself. He really just evolved. And I feel like you could watch him grow game by game and making that defense so much better. So, Seby, let me know. How did you feel about this, and was it well-deserved?
Absolutely. I know Jeff is huge on being able to identify prospects in college and how their game is going to translate to the NFL. But Will Anderson has been a beast. He's been a monster, obviously being a product of Nick Saban in Alabama. But you know, when they drafted up, they had all that capital and they went from 10 up to 3. You know, DeMeco Ryans, that was his pick. He wanted that guy, right? And so DeMeco Ryans, he's gotten the best of this guy. You can put him around already. You could put him in 9 technique. You could put him out in the edge. You move him around to your weakest offensive tackle, offensive guard. And he's been a revelation for this guy. And that's only years to come. I think this Texan team, they've got 2 pillar cornerstone rookies that they can build off of. And, you know, he's a monster. So well-deserved for him. And the sky's the limit for this kid.
Jeff, you could go next.
Absolutely. I think the only other person I would have given that award to would have been Devin Witherspoon, because what he did in Seattle was amazing for that defense. I think that defense was a top-tier defense when Devin Witherspoon was on the field. But you look at what Will Anderson did, what he was able to do with that Houston Texans defense that was totally in flux. Remember, it's a whole new coaching staff, a whole new demeanor, a whole new scheme. So you have a piece on Will Anderson who you can move around, create mismatches, drop into coverage. He could rush. Excellent at the point of attack versus the run. Doesn't get totally engulfed. So he does so many things for that defense that he allows other guys to make plays as well. And so I definitely agree. Listen, he deserved the award. Like I said, the only other person I could have seen winning it would have been Devin Witherspoon.
I think it's very important to recognize that having two Texans win these awards this year is just so monumental to how the franchise is changing, right? So I think Brock has said it so many times, just they're going to invest more money. This is a great time for them to just reevaluate what they did well and just keep building off of that. So I don't know if you have any closing thoughts on talking about Will Anderson, but I think all the points you made before were great. So go ahead, Brock.
Yeah, no, I really have not much to add. I do want to say I felt that there were two players that didn't get the recognition they deserved in terms of this award outside of Witherspoon. And that was the Rams' Colby Turner and Byron Young. Both of those players put in phenomenal numbers this year. Byron Young, outside linebacker, 61 total tackles, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. And then Colby Turner, 57 tackles, 9 sacks compared to Will Anderson's 45 tackles, 7 sacks. Maybe they deserve more of a discussion, but I have no reason to say Will Anderson didn't deserve the award.
Okay, a little speculation. I like that before we close out to the next segment. I think, like you said, it's all based off of the voting. So it's hard until you guys get to vote somewhere to change anybody's opinions. So we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame class of 2024. Before I came on here, there was a lot of conversations going on. So I want you guys to tell me what you're not happy with, who you would like to see replaced, because I think everyone in the football world agrees with probably what you guys were chatting about, and what changes need to be made. So Seby, kick it off.
Well, obviously the consensus pick was Devin Hester. I mean, we talked about that before.
Surprise.
And Ash, but obviously this guy, he's a generational talent when you talk about kick return, punt returns. I mean, he's the reason why punters they kick. The coaches tell kickers to punt it out of bounds because of that guy. Do not kick it to him. The likes of him and Deshaun Jackson, those guys revolutionized the game at that position. But there were a couple guys that I think was well deserving. I mean, Devin Hester is a special teams guy, but there's been some guys, much like what Jeff said, that's been waiting for 30 years, 40 years, is still not in. Darren Woodson and others.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're still waiting for those days, but there's been some standouts that I do like in this list. Patrick Willis is a guy that obviously his idol was Ray Lewis. That's why he wears number 52, well deserving for him. And there was some other guys as well. Julius Peppers too. We just forget about him because all those years he played in Carolina, they were meaningless. But this guy, he was disruptive anywhere you put him on the field. So I'm glad that they got their recognition and obviously got him.
All right, Brock, we'll have Jeff close out. So Brock, tell us, is this the same conversation you guys were having? Same person?
Oh, it was about several people, but yes.
Frankly, all those gentlemen deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but I honestly don't even know what a Hall of Famer is anymore, because when you look at the criteria that the committee supposedly looks at, there's no reason Antonio Gates should not be on this list as the first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He has remotely close numbers to some of the wide receiving pass catchers on that list, or exceeds some of them. And once again, like, what argument do you have to say that he's not deserving of being a first ballot? They keep pushing the goalposts. I'm so sick and tired of it. One, only having 5 of the modern era players per year is absolutely ridiculous. I think they need to expand that, because you have such a backlog of players, and you have players that deserve to go in as first ballot. A lot of coaches deserve to go in. I think the committee has it completely backwards, and until they make some serious changes, we're going to keep on having these discussions year after year.
Yeah, please.
Well,
no.
I don't think we're going to see any change in this, because we don't have real football people on these discussions. Mm-hmm. And supposedly, allegedly, there's supposedly some former players on there. Well, there's definitely, in that case, some personal bias involved. Because if you're looking at this list, I mean, there are talented players that deserve to be in there. Freeney deserves to be in there. Did he deserve to go in there before certain other people that we'll talk about? Probably not. Why is Randy Gradishar just going in there? Why is Steve McMichael on his deathbed just going in there? He's been retired since the early 90s, and we're just putting him in there. Okay, we've known this long. He's a Hall of Famer. Why are we waiting so long? Why are we still waiting? Why is Andre Johnson in there before John Taylor goes in the Hall of Fame? Okay, Patrick Willis is deserving, no doubt about it. Julius Peppers is deserving, no doubt. But there are guys that have been waiting so long. And I'm going to talk about one of those guys right now that we've made a finalist 3 years in a row, and he doesn't get in. And I'm talking about Darren Woodson. How do you not put Darren Woodson in the Hall of Fame? Look at those credentials. Okay, that's more than dudes that just got in there. Okay, and then you turn around and look at what he did on the football field. You are talking about a guy who, plain and simple, was able to play an all-pro at strong safety, an all-pro at free safety, who played in the slot as a corner and played as a nickel linebacker and did all equally well. There are guys that I love Devin Hester, but he was a returner alone. I just told you 4 things that Darren Woodson did well. They have yet to find another Darren Woodson. The closest thing you come to is a Buda Baker, right? It's plain and simple ridiculous that when you're talking about Darren Woodson, why he is still waiting 20 years after he retired. I would love for the committee to tell me why this guy is still waiting for that knock on the door. It doesn't make any sense. All right, we're putting people in. I love Terrell Owens, but he didn't deserve to go in before John Taylor. Okay, let's be realistic. He didn't even the Super Bowls that they won with Jerry Rice. It wasn't Jerry Rice alone, right? The winning touchdown against Cincinnati, that was John Taylor. The guy that caught 2 touchdowns versus Denver the year later, John Taylor. Okay, I'm tired of watching guys go in before deserving players. I'm tired of watching deserving players wait until they're on their deathbed or dead. Get in. Don Coryell going last year. The man was dead 20 years. We finally put him in. It's about time we stop playing these games with the nominations. It's literally become what Dion said. It's the Hall of Good, not the Hall of Great.
Yeah, I just want to jump off that by one, say I'm tired of celebrating corpses, and 2, what is with the issue not only with the players but with the coaches? The coaches' backlog is. I've been a Dan Reeves Hall of Fame guy for a long time, and yet he hasn't even sniffed consideration. He's not even the only one. You go back to the history of the Pals. There's so many deserving coaches and even assistant coaches that deserve to go in. Just because you never had the head role doesn't mean you didn't make a monumental impact on the game of football. And they're never going to get their flowers, and it's completely ridiculous. And this Hall of Fame thing, it just got me upset again because, once again, these are players and coaches that put their lives and souls into this game, who have made a monumental difference and will not be recognized for it. And it's completely unacceptable.
I'll tell you what, there's certain quarterbacks that are still getting consideration that may get in, right? They're going to most likely put Eli Manning in. No doubt about it. He deserved to go in for his 2 rings. If you want to talk about championships are a big thing, that's fine. But you want to know what? There was a guy that played for the Philadelphia Eagles that made the pattern of the athletic quarterback that could throw the ball 50, 60 yards on the run, named Randall Cunningham, who changed the league and is still waiting for a chance. They come up with every excuse not to put Randall Cunningham in the Hall of Fame, but yet the whole league is based off of Randall Cunningham type quarterbacks now. This is ridiculous.
And I'll give you.
Oh, sorry, continue.
No, and I'll give you one better yet. Another Philadelphia Eagle, Donovan McNabb is still with him, right? Why Donovan McNabb hasn't gotten considerations, right? I mean, he's one of the ones that paved the way for what the game is today. There is no such thing as a stationary quarterback. Stationary quarterbacks don't exist. You have to be able to be mobile. You have to be able to be an elite processor of information. You have to be able to make all the reads. Donovan McNabb was that. I don't know why he hasn't gotten considerations. Brian Dawkins, the list goes on. I mean, I don't get it as well.
Yeah, and honestly, while we're still the Philadelphia Eagles, Eric Allen is a guy for me that I think has been waiting forever to get into the Hall of Fame, and they keep on stubbing him year after year. Not only was he a phenomenal player, he was a phenomenal ambassador of the game of football that the younger generation got to see as a commentator. And who got to see how he appreciated the game and then shared that same appreciation. You want to talk about a guy in that whole speech that David Baker used to do? It's always thank you what you did for the game, what you're doing for the game, and what you'll continue to do for the game. Eric Allen is that guy, and yet you don't put him in. I don't even know what to say.
Go ahead, Jeff. I know you got another one.
Oh, no, listen, you get to the point where you get speechless because we're just trolling through names. Some of these names we already had when we came on the show. Some of these names we're talking about during the show. And if we bring Bill Carroll on, I'm pretty sure that list goes about 100 times. Okay, this is just ridiculous. And I know they have a backlog, but how about you put a moratorium on the recent guys and get the guys that should have been in 20, 30 years in, and then you can come back and get those guys in another 5 years. How about that? Now, those guys aren't going anywhere in 5 years. Let's get the guys that deserve their flowers while they're still here in the Hall of Fame that deserve to be there. There's no reason why it took so long to get Drew Pearson in there. Okay, I mean, this is stuff that's just these are no brainers. These are no brainers, and you're waiting 20, 30 years for no brainers. In some cases, they still aren't in, and you're waiting for what? There's no rhyme or reason to it. The fact that you have Atwater in, the fact that you have Lynch in, the fact that you have Leroy Butler in, and none of them could carry Darren Woodson's jockstrap is amazing to me.
Yeah, and honestly, something that needs to be discussed in general is position bias because DB, especially at the safety position, has been grossly mismanaged for years. Absolutely. Why did it take only a couple years ago for Kenny Easley to get in? That made no. What are we doing here? Or why do we wait forever? Like, why did Dick Vermeil have to wait till he's 85 to get in? Tom Flores had to wait till he was 82 to get in. What are we doing? What are we? Jimmy Johnson was 80. Like, what are we doing? It doesn't.
Charlie Waters just went in last year.
Like, what are we doing? I don't even know.
They should change it. They should change it to the Hall of what?
Yeah, like
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
Seby, any closing thoughts?
I think enough's been said. I think enough's been said. The list goes on of snubs. I mean, change needs to be made. Who are in these committees? That's the real question. Like who are the real?
I was just about to ask you guys.
Equipment managers.
It's changed since the last time I knew who was in it, but last time it was a bunch. There were a couple of players, ex-players in it, but they were a bunch of media guys, writers, and that's the worst thing you could do. The baseball Hall of Fame is in the hands of writers, and you see how screwed up that is. Okay, if you're going to put people in based on merit, put the people, not the people that covered them. The people that know the game, that historians that can tell you about the game, people that played against those guys, those are the guys should be making decisions, not writers. Writers have a personal bias at times. We especially nowadays where everything is editorial. Okay, so by all means, take it away from the writers. The writers have too much power in these Hall of Fames.
Yeah. Also, stop moving the qualifications. What does the locker room is an extension of the field mean? What does that mean? And like you could give an accurate description of what a locker room guy is. You see it for a snippet of a guy's day, and you can judge a whole person on it. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it frustrates, especially talk about Terrell Owens, and some guys deserve to go before him, but he should have waited that long either. Now he did kind of prove everybody's concerns right when he didn't show up to the award ceremony. But regardless, that's his own personal decision that he has the right to make. Stop withholding awards from these guys because you got your feelings hurt one time in 1998. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm so sick and tired of the media's hurt feelings. Stop being so soft. You can sit by the computer and cyberbully a player all day, but when they call you out, you shrivel up. That just shows exactly the type of person you are and the type of reasons why you shouldn't be in charge of making these type of decisions.
It's so true. The people that are hiding behind those meme accounts are the people that want to talk the most but can't take it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Very fickle people.
Jeff, you are correct. It is the media who is selecting. So.
Yeah. That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, I think bias in this part of the NFL is just unnecessary. There's plenty of bias we get throughout the entire season.
Think about it this way. Four of the 6 skill players for the 70s Steelers are all Hall of Famers. 4 of the 6. You don't have any other team of the decade that has that many. And they were great, don't get me wrong. But you had the triplets, and that was it. There's no Jay Novacek mentioned in that category, right? We talk about Jay Novacek's career, right? We don't mention him as a Hall of Famer. But we have Bradshaw, you have both receivers, Swan and Stallworth, and you have Franco Harris, okay? And now they're deserving as such. But, okay, if that's the case, why are we still waiting for John Taylor? Why? Because they were winning Super Bowls before he got there. They were winning Super Bowls before they got Jerry Rice. We still put Jerry Rice in there, right? We still put Steve Young in there, right? So enough's enough. Personal achievements and contribution to the game is what it's about. John Taylor was as big as those late-run 49er teams as a lot of the other players on it that are still getting credit for it. Charles Haley got put in there, deservedly so. One of the craziest people you could have in your locker room, drove a lot of coaches nuts, but you want to know what? He was a hell of a teammate, though, all right, and a hell of a player, and guess why you put him in there? So that whole thing about locker room dynamics, it depends on who's telling the story.
Yep. And also, something that they don't put into perspective is the type of offense these players played in. The only thing Roger Craig did wrong was playing a West Coast offense. He is, in my opinion, without a doubt, a Hall of Famer. Over 1,200,
Absolutely.
12,000, total yards. And just because he was catching passes on the back that's getting handoffs, he's not a Hall of Famer. Get out of here with that. I'm so sick and tired of it. It's because a player played in a certain offense, they don't get the accolades. Or because a player played with a certain helmet, they don't get the accolades. Why is Fred Taylor not in the Hall of Fame? When I was growing up, Fred Taylor was one of the most dangerous running backs in the NFL. You know what happened to all the other guys he was compared with? They're all in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he was Jaguar? That's why Fred Taylor's not in? Get out of here with that. If you're a member of the 10,000-yard rushing club, you deserve very good and very detailed consideration. And when you put in Fred Taylor's body of work, Hall of Famer, no question.
And we missed the running back in between those two guys, right? You talk about, we talk about Roger Craig, we talk about Fred Taylor. In the middle there was also a Ricky Waters, right, that people seem to forget about too. You don't win that Super Bowl in 94 without Ricky Waters in your backfield. Right? And they proved that in 95 when they couldn't get back there and Green Bay bumped them off. All right. Enough is enough. Recognize the guys that deserve it. It's about time. And I know we've taken over a Super Bowl show with Hall of Fame nonsense, but it needs to be said. It's not being said enough. We do a whole thing on the NFL Network about Hall of Fame and praising what's there, and we do a 5-second thing on snubs, when realistically we should be deep diving into why these guys are missing from the Hall. I'm tired of writing articles about 1 or 2 guys a year who are missing, and there's a whole slew of them that we can write up. This has gone way too far. It's about time we make some real change and get the guys their flowers before they're gone.
Yeah, and the last thing I just want to add to that is, what is the double standard when it comes to players? Why is time not a problem for Terrell Davis and for Tony Boselli, but it is for Sterling Sharp? Why does
Dude.
Yeah, why do different players get different criteria? I thought this was supposed to be it. You're on the gridiron, man against man, 1-on-1 match across the field. You make it happen. Sterling Sharp made it happen for 8 years? 3-time All-Pro, 3-time receiving leader in the NFL. You know why Brett Favre's numbers look so good? It's because Sterling Sharp was the guy catching the football. Why does Sterling not get it? But other guys do with the same criteria, but worse stats. Doesn't make any sense to me.
And the only reason he didn't get a ring is because he broke his neck.
Exactly. Only reason, right? Like, if he plays and he's Super Bowl MVP instead of Desmond Howard, do we look at his career differently? You're absolutely right. But since Andre Rison was the guy catching passes in that game instead of Sterling Sharp, he doesn't deserve Hall of Fame consideration. His neck got hurt. What else do you want him to do besides put up jaw-dropping numbers while he was in the league?
We put in the Kansas Comet for a short career. We put in Terrell Davis for a short career. Why can't you put Sterling Sharp in for a short career?
And also, what is a short career? Is it a short career to you? Is it 8 years at playing pro football is nothing to laugh at. That's 5 years, 4 to 5 years over the expected career tenure of a football player. That's not a short career. That's just a career.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at the exact time I was allotting you guys for this. And I'm not just saying that. It's because I knew that this was a very important topic to cover. especially because I had obviously read after the Hall of Fame team was announced, and there was a lot of conversations regarding not as many people as you guys did, but at least a similar number of people that should have been added or should still be highlighted before they leave. As you said, they should be celebrated before. What did you say? They were
Give them their flowers while they're here.
Yes, while they're here.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, we're going to talk about our, of course, game of the day, the reason we're all here. And you've seen there's already Niner fans in the chat because they know what's going on, and they're all my people watching. So I feel like this whole week has been very difficult for me to decide who's going to win. What is everyone's pros? What's everyone's cons? I think these teams are just very equally matched, offensively, defensively. They play differently a little schematically, but I think that overall, the way that the Niners have figured out how to get through these situations and how the Chiefs made an entire 180 from week 4 January to now, I think is just obviously a test to Patrick Mahomes. And I personally don't want to see the Chiefs win another ring and have a back-to-back and be talked about a dynasty and all of those things. So first of all, let's see what are the keys for Brock's success. And I think that Brock is the key person to make the Niners successful here, because too many sacks, it's a big loss for the Niners and a big win for the Chiefs. So what are your thoughts on Brock's keys to success, Brock?
I think it's about allowing him to play within the structure of the offense. I think Kyle Shanahan has opened up the book a little bit too much on him in the playoffs, and it has showed some of his deficiencies. I think you have to let him, take the check down, hand the ball off, get within the rhythm of the game, and allow him to grow from that point on. When you saw him in that Detroit game, once he got settled down, he looked flawless. He looked confident. He would take off for those crucial runs. He was acting like how a quarterback should. If you start out too early this time, that Packers game, where they just threw, and he couldn't complete anything. Run the football, complete short passes, get Kittle involved early so he has that safety net, and allow him to get comfortable. And then once he gets comfortable, he gets confident. And when he gets confident, he gets dangerous. And that's how you're going to win against the Chiefs.
So last week we saw Brock really use his legs. And I feel like that has been something that has been successful for Patrick Mahomes. Do you see Brock having that same success today against that Chiefs defense, Seby? And if not, then following up on that last question, what are the other ways that Brock can be successful in those third and something decisions?
Absolutely. I think that he's going to have to use his legs, right? The Chiefs defense, they've been phenomenal. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed is an all-pro. We know what Chris Jones provides. Trent McDuffie's an all-pro. When these guys are locked down in coverage and there's nobody open, he's going to have to use his legs, because in a quarterback's head, there's a clock, and that clock is working, right? 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. If nobody's there, you got to start running. And we saw a revelation of that against Detroit. That was one of the main reasons they won that football game. I did not know Brock Purdy can do that with his legs, and Detroit didn't know that. So I think that's going to be huge, especially in this game. And I'll say this also. One of the other keys I think Brock Purdy can do, Spagnuolo and the Chiefs, they like to play man-to-man coverage. The 49ers are actually really good against man-to-man coverage. They have a lot of man beaters. Deebo Samuels, one-on-one. You have Kittle, one-on-one. And so I think they're going to have to utilize that. Even if you want to utilize Christian McCaffrey and flank him out in the slot, put him out wide in the Z as a wide receiver, one-on-one, and match him up with a linebacker. I think those are the keys that he's going to have to do. He's got to get the ball out quick, obviously, but when they blitz, and Spags blitzes a lot, when they play one-on-one and man-to-man coverage, he has to take advantage of that. And the 49ers are good at exploiting that. Shanahan is a very good play caller and game planner when it comes to that. So those are going to be the keys for Brock Purdy, and eliminate the turnovers. Those are killers, because you're going against 15 on the other side. So those are going to be the keys to success for me.
All right, Jeff. The Niners defense have a large problem named Travis Kelce, everyone's favorite tight end right now. So what is their key to success against him? And Patrick figuring out how to get the ball out. He'd be wheeling and dealing all the time. So what is the Niners' key to success defensively to stop, that momentum building up?
Well, you got two choices, right? You could try and stop Kelsey and make the other guys beat you, or you could try and let Kelsey be Kelsey. You cover him honestly. But what you do is you take everybody else away. You make it where Travis Kelsey has to beat you at 400 yards. I don't think he's going to do that. He may get 200 and you'll still be able to win the game. All right. What you got to do is you got to make sure you don't let Pacheco loose out of the backfield and slow down the Chiefs running game. Don't make them a two-dimensional offense. Make them one-dimensional and make it where you don't have big plays from Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You don't have big plays from Rashee Rice. You don't have big plays from the other tight ends. You don't have big plays from Pacheco. It's going to be literally Mahomes and Kelsey. If they could beat you with just Mahomes and Kelsey, then you're not doing enough offensively. So that's the main thing. If you're going to be the Niners defense, yes, you cover Travis Kelsey. You make it hard for him to get him the football, but you don't let anybody else make any big plays against you. You make it where Travis Kelsey has to carry this whole offense. No Pacheco, no nobody else. You limit those guys, make him have the biggest day of his life. He can have a big game, and you can still win.
So we've talked about, and many people have, the Niners are not good against the run. So if you're watching Pacheco, who has been phenomenal, just like Christian McCaffrey has been, what are you doing for the Niners defense to stop that third and down Pacheco blow up to happen, Brock?
Quite frankly, I'm loading the box, and I'm playing press coverage, and I'm making their playmakers physically beat me at the point of attack. Isaiah Pacheco is a running back, like a Derrick Henry, like a guy. Once he gets a full head of steam, there's no stopping him. So you have to attack, you have to tackle him at the line of scrimmage, because once he hits pay dirt, he's a big guy to bring down. So I want to limit him early. I want to make Mahomes also uncomfortable. Maybe bring some exotic blitzes from those looks as well. And once again, really pressing the line. I trust my guys up top. I trust my defenders. Honestly, Thomas is kind of a big worry for me, but Ward on the other side, he's an all-pro caliber player. He's gonna have everything locked down. I'm gonna make guys like Rashee Rice, Watson, those players try and beat me. And if they do, we can make adjustments. But do not let Isaiah Pacheco get anything going, because if that happens, they'll beat you on play action and they'll carve you up all day.
Yeah, that is such a great point. All right, Seby. So we have really seen the Niners play a tale of two halves. I feel like game in and game out, there is a very low first half with an exciting second half to figure out how to get it done. That will not be the case against the Chiefs. I think we can all agree. So how can the Niners remain stagnant and at least keep themselves afloat so that they would avoid any kind of blow up on the Chiefs side?
Yeah, this is going to be a huge thing. This is really the X factor of the game. You cannot go down 24/7 to Patrick Mahomes, or you can't go down. I think Green Bay was up double digits too. This is the real commander in chief. This is 15. This is Patrick Mahomes that you're going up against, and Andy Reid. You know what I mean? And so if I'm Shanahan, I get the coin toss. I'm actually accepting the ball, right? Because I want this 49ers offense to get on the board and put up some points. Because if you don't, and you get a 3-and-out, and Patrick Mahomes goes down, and they go up down the field and score, then it's an avalanche for you to climb. And so I think that it's an imperative that the 49ers come and they put up points. It doesn't matter how it ends. It can end in a kick, whether it's a field goal or an extra point. They need to put up points. And like I said, I think Kyle Shanahan, if they win the coin toss, I would accept it. I'm typically a guy that likes to get the ball in the second half and try to double up. But against this guy, and where you're going up against with Mahomes, with Andy Reid, it is going to be crucial for them to put up points early, their opening drive or their second drive, or else you're going to have a mountain to climb.
I'm glad that you said that, because I asked Jeff and Joe earlier in one of our shows, if you are, I can't remember which team I was referencing, but if you are facing a team of one of these calibers, one of these teams, I was asking if you were going to accept the ball in the first half. So, Jeff, do you agree with that in the case of the Niners?
In the case of the Niners, if anything, I want to get the ball first, because I don't want to get these guys going early. I know a lot of times you want to take the chance to try to stop them and double up at the end of the half. But if the way the Niners are started in the playoffs, right? Both games they've fallen behind early. You want to go out there and get a lead. You don't want to play behind versus Kansas City because Andy Reid is not going to do the dangerous things that Dan Campbell did that let you back in the game last week.
Totally.
So if you're going to go out there, I want to get this ball first. I want to take it to that Kansas City defense, and I want to set the tone versus them. I want them playing at my speed, not me playing at theirs.
All right, so I don't know if you guys are aware, but the spread is the Niners are favored by 2 points. And I feel like that is Vegas playing games with everybody because if you watch any shows throughout the week, everyone has picked the Chiefs. There's one outlier, maybe one person in every single broadcast that has selected the Niners. But 98% overall, it feels like the Chiefs are highly, highly favored. So going in knowing that the spread is favoring the Niners, that will turn it on the Chiefs. They've been here before. They're very familiar with what this looks like. This could have been a game of last year repeated if Brock did not get injured in that NFC game. So what are you doing to stop that offense from just taking over and really stopping your chances of getting your 3rd trophy in 5 years, Seby?
Well, I think the game plan for me is, Christian McCaffrey is the offensive player of the year. You got to utilize him. I mean, he's your workhorse. I would utilize him and all 3 downs, right? First down, try to run it. I know the game plan is they're going to try to stop the run, but I would keep him on the field. And again, I'd say I'd line him up in the X, line him up in the Y, create mismatches. And what that does is you dictate tempo. And it's not because that Christian McCaffrey is on a linebacker. It provides that seam that is not being operated by one of the linebackers because he has to go and cover, Christian McCaffrey in space. And we know San Francisco likes to operate in the middle of the field. So that gives opportunities in the middle of the field for Debo, for Ayuk, for Kittle to operate in. And so I think you're going to have to create mismatches in this game. This is what this game is going to come down to: execution and creating mismatches. Their best player, which is Christian McCaffrey, they're going to have to ride that horse. I say he has to, at minimum, get 20 touches, rushing attempts. I say that you got to look at him against a linebacker or sometimes a defensive end, depending on if they're playing cover 3. I think that's going to open up the opportunity for some of these other guys on the outside to operate in the middle of the field. And so I think that's going to be their best success on offense for the Chiefs. Not the Chiefs, excuse me, for the 49ers to put up points and to eventually win this ballgame.
All right, we're going to talk about the Chiefs. I really don't even want to because I just don't want them to win. So, Jeff, Chiefs offense continue to carry strongly throughout games and just really dominate. So when you're looking at how the Niners defensive line can stop anything, I mean, what are you really evaluating here for that Chiefs offensive lead? How do you stop them?
You follow the game plan of Tampa Bay. 4-man pressure. If you can get there with 4-man pressure, it takes away a lot of what the Chiefs do. You're going to make it where the guys can't get open. He's got to hold the ball. He's going to take sacks. He's going to force throws. He's going to be forced to throw the ball away. You got to get there with 4-man pressure. If you're going to send, 5 and 6-man pressure, or if you're going to send 4-man pressure and not going to get there, it's going to allow the Chiefs to do what they love to do: ad lib, throw off script, run for yards. All that stuff happens when you don't get there with 4-man pressure. Tampa Bay was able to get there with 4-man pressure and 4-man pressure alone, and it disrupted the whole Chiefs offense. That version of the Chiefs offense was better than this version of the Chiefs offense. All right. So if you can beat that version with 4-man pressure, you can definitely beat this one with 4-man pressure.
All right, Brock. What do you believe the Chiefs do well that are some of the Niners' flaws?
They take what the defense gives them repeatedly. No matter what they do, they're able to find ways to pick up small yards here, small yards there, and that's why we look at them at 3rd down. It's always 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4. Something that's manageable. You need to be able to be aggressive and to stop them because they will take advantage of you if you play them soft. I don't really see a way to stop Kansas City's offense, but there are ways to slow them down, and that's exactly what you need to do. Because Kelsey is too intelligent of a player to stop him fully, especially if you're going to run zone coverage. he will find the holes in that zone, and Mahomes will pick them apart. If I'm Kansas City's offense, I'm doing the same thing I've always done. I'm running the ball effectively. I'm relying on my offensive line. I'm trying to find zones in coverage, and if nothing's there, I just have a quarterback go pick up those 4 or 5 yards he does running and continue to move the chains, and that's why they're so effective.
So, although we saw Baltimore not play the game that they've played this entire season against this Chiefs team, the defense remained true and really stopped Patrick, even though he didn't feel the need to put up more points, right? But what did the Baltimore defense do successfully that the Niners can kind of incorporate here in their attempt to stop the Chiefs offense, Seby?
Well, John Lynch is their GM, and he spent a lot of money on the front seven, especially that front four. I think Nicholas John Bosa, it's time. Chase Young, it is time. Javon Hargrave, they spent $85 million on the offseason to get you from the Eagles to be a member of the Niner gang. It is time. It's time for these guys to win one-on-one. We haven't really seen that pass rush dominate with the ferocity that we thought that they would, right? We thought that they would dominate teams in the trenches. You saw Detroit run the ball against them, have success in the first half off play action. Aaron Jones in Green Bay too. And so, but this is for all the chips, right?
Right.
I think it's time for that front four in particular. Can they get home? And when they get home, they have to collapse pressure up front and not get out of, out of not be undisciplined to create lanes for Patrick Mahomes, because that's where the game is going to win. Those guys have to win. You can't always pressure and blitz with Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. You need those guys sometimes to be on the back end, but it's time for those guys to win one-on-one. And they have all the talent in the world. Chase Young, number 2 overall pick. Joey Bosa is a former defensive player of the year. Javon Hargraves, he was excellent for the Super Bowl run that the Eagles had last year. That's gonna be the game right there. You have to make Mahomes uncomfortable, and I thought that's a blueprint that they can take from Baltimore, what they did last week. But those guys in particular, at this point, it's for your pride. Like mano a mano, I gotta be my guard and my center and get home and try to get to Patrick Mahomes.
All right, Jeff, to close out the Chiefs offense, you could be Chief too if that's what you want. What is your favorite part about the Chiefs offense that they're able to figure things out in these games?
The fact that they've been finding ways, especially in the playoffs, not so much during the regular season, but during this playoff run, they've been finding ways to win with their role guys, right? Rashee Rice has come on. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, got to say that slow, has made some big plays in this run. A guy who had so many drops during the regular season. Those guys that were much maligned during the regular season have come up with big plays in this stretch. They've come out and produced. They don't have to produce big numbers. They just got to go out there and make plays when called upon. And that's something that you strive for, right? When you get into the playoffs, it's about everybody out there doing their 111th, right? Everybody's got a role. They got to fulfill it, and they got to get it done. That's what's the most impressive part about this run for the Kansas City Chiefs. They came out there with an offense that was diminished compared to their previous years. They've come out this year with a lot of drop passes, right? The receiving core was not their strength, but they've come out in the playoffs and they've made it a strength. They've come out and made plays when they needed them to make plays. They've come out and made plays at times where this offense had to make a play or they risk losing the game. So you got to look at this offense and say, and give them kudos for saying, hey, you aren't the same offense. You're not as explosive. You don't have as many playmakers at the skill positions, but you guys find ways to make plays when it counts. And that's what's making this run so special.
Yeah, it is pretty spectacular to see how they went from 3 to 4 drop passes every other game to the Super Bowl. I don't know if anybody else would like to comment on what they think their favorite part of the Chiefs offense is. Seby or Brock, you could totally chime in.
I just think it's their ability to find or to put players in positions to make plays, even when those players aren't necessarily superstars. They did it last year with Juju Smith-Schuster. They did it this year with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, both years, of course, Rashee Rice. Whoever it is, they understand the strengths of their players and they put them in positions to make plays. I think that's the best part, or my favorite part of the Chiefs offense.
I think for me, we used to always hear about the Patriot way, right? 1 week might not be what you see the next week, right? So Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, their ability to morph and adapt to something else. What you saw on tape 1 week might not be how they beat you the next week, right? And so I think that's the most impressive thing for them too. That I like.
Yeah, I think you guys have covered everything. They've really just been that team that overcame all scrutiny this entire season. When they had lost, I don't even remember, back in September, there was like a back-to-back loss, and we were like, this is not the same Chiefs team that just won the Super Bowl. Like, somebody can take this from them just as quickly as they got it. And that obviously is not even close to the case based off of their postseason run. I mean, no interceptions. Patrick is really playing phenomenal football, and the Niners defense really has to just be the one team that can cause that breakage within this Chiefs team. So we're going to get to our favorite part, which is the rapid fire, because we've talked about a great hour of football. I feel like every time I'm on the show, I learn so much from you guys. So thank you for everything. And in the rapid fire, we're going to talk about who we're all picking. And I think there is a unanimous choice here, except I might be that outlier. So Jeff, you go first. Who are you picking to win the Super Bowl today?
I think it's been a special run, so I'm going to go Kansas City. We haven't seen a run like this since 2007 and 2011 with those two giant teams who went in as wild cards, caught fire, and went into the playoffs. Both were flawed teams. Well, this Kansas City team was flawed. They came into the playoffs with a lot of questions. People didn't think they were going to make this run. Here they are.
Seby.
I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, too.
Oh.
I got to know with what I know, right? Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they've been there before. Kyle Shanahan has been there, but the first 2 times he's been there, he's had leads, and then he hasn't closed. This is the worst matchup that you can have a lead and not close, and so I have to go with them. But do you know, Ashley, I do have some faith for you. Did you know that 14 of the last 17 teams that wore white jerseys have won a Super Bowl?
Oh, I saw that.
So there's hope. There's hope.
I saw that. All right. What about you, Brock?
I think the NFL believes in storylines, and that's why I'm picking the San Francisco 49ers.
Woo, there's 2 of us.
Yeah, so the reason why is I've been seeing the social media posts. Of course, they've been hammering on Travis and Taylor and all that great stuff. But on the back end, they've been hammering about father and son with the Shanahans, father and sons with the McCaffreys. They're talking about legacy, about the NFL wants their next Kurt Warner. Brock Purdy fits the mold, underdog, doubted in college, didn't get the start, wasn't gifted all the things a normal rookie quarterback normally gets, and yet he's going to march his team all the way to the Super Bowl. I see it right now. The NFL is going to play this up, and of course, when it comes to the other storyline, the Mahomes and the Travis and Taylor, they can build that up in the offseason for the redemption arc for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm taking the Niners in this one for the storylines and just for pure football. Niners defense really good. I think the offense is too efficient. I got them running away with this one late.
If you watch the show, you know I am never going to pick the Chiefs in my life. So that is mainly the reason I'm picking the 49ers, because I come from a Raider household, and to see these 2 teams take on in Las Vegas is just like probably the worst thing for my dad. But I think the Niners defense can actually wake up. I think they've been a little slow to start this entire postseason, and I think it's great the way that they saw the Baltimore team take on the Chiefs. I think they're going to learn a lot about how they can use their strengths. And we all saw the media talk about Chase Young, so I think this is a game that Chase Young does a little bit more than just helping those blind spots and like blocking in certain areas, and really takes over. That's my choice. And I mean, if the Chiefs get it done, man, don't text me. Nobody call me. Nobody's not going to be posting anything on social media just because it's like a team that I don't want to see making this kind of run. That's Well, I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts. I hope you all have fun at your Super Bowl parties today. Everyone enjoy the last game. Jeff is going to have a bunch of NFL draft things coming up. We have an NFL draft show. He's got his own shows coming up. If you want to promo Jeff real quick before we log off.
Absolutely. Well, we've already begun Draft Central. Last week we talked tackles and edge rushers. Feel free to go back to YouTube and look up on the Team MBS channel and look up that episode. It was a great episode. We recapped Senior Bowl and all the All-Star games. So if there's names that you're not constantly hearing out there on all the other blogs and chats, by all means, go back to the previous shows. You're going to learn a lot and plenty more to come. This week is running backs and inside linebackers on Team MBS Draft Central, Wednesday nights on the Team MBS YouTube channel and social media.
Beautiful. Clearly, I missed last week's because I didn't mention that. So I will go back and watch that. But I thank all of you for being here, and I hope you guys have a great Sunday. Enjoy the last day of the NFL season, and I hope everyone has a safe day. And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow Team NBS Media on all your social platforms. All right. Thanks, everyone.